to it. Could Russell Wilson be on the move? What? Who would have guessed this? So last week, Wilson's agent told our Adam Schefter that he has demanded a trade, but would consider playing for the Bears, Saints, Cowboys, and Raiders if a trade were considered. Even the mayors of New Orleans, I don't know if you guys saw this earlier, in Seattle, are making their pitch to let Russ cook. Meanwhile, listen to this. Hall of Famer Michael Irvin said, quote, quarterbacks suddenly have the power to leave a team, but that also means they have the power to come to a team. Russell Wilson wants Dak's chair. Hey now. Stephen A.
Yeah.
Should Russ want to play in Seattle?
Should he want to play in Seattle? Is that what you asked?
Mm-hmm.
No, he should not. If you read the reports and the things that have been said emanating out of Seattle, Pete Carroll, one of his sons is gone. The other one of his sons is a wide receivers coach. Obviously Russell Wilson reportedly is one of the people who feels like you can't tell them anything. That's not what we've heard about Pete Carroll. We know Pete Carroll to be a national champion as a collegiate coach. We know him to be a Super Bowl champion as a head coach. We know that he knows football, and we know that he's an exceptional coach who's done an exceptional job. But in the same breath, we always assumed that he was a player's coach per se, and that doesn't appear to be the case at this particular juncture. At this particular moment in time, Russell Wilson seems to be turned off by Pete Carroll and the Seattle Seahawks organization. It wasn't an off-the-record comment. His agent literally gave Adam Schefter teams that Russell Wilson would be interested in going to after Russell Wilson had said what he said on the Dan Patrick show. So you take all of those things into consideration. I would say, no, he shouldn't stay there. He's been there for 9 years. He's a Super Bowl champion. He's been to 2 Super Bowls. He's carried the franchise on his back pretty much for the last 5 years, and we all know this because that's when the Legion of Boom basically was, diminishing before our very eyes, and they were on their way out. So when I look at it from that perspective, I say, no, he shouldn't want to be there. Russell Wilson should want to go to the Dallas Cowboys.
What?
Quote unquote. I mean, are you ready for this? Yes, the Dallas Cowboys. America's.
You can't say that. You,
Yes,
of
I
all
can.
people, can't say the Cowboys.
Well, yeah, I can once you listen to my reasons. I can say that once you hear my reasons. See, when you have to understand, Max Kellerman. First of all, one thing. I just told you he's a Super Bowl champion. He's got a 98-45-1 record in his 9 seasons. That's more win than the Dallas Cowboys organization has had. I think they've got like 78 wins in that span. He's got 98 wins in the last 9 years, okay? And we also know the cachet that his talents would bring. But it's not even that. It's not even so much that. Max Kellerman, when's the last time the Dallas Cowboys have really been relevant? Quarter century, wouldn't you say?
At that level, that's right.
Yeah, that's right. And yet everyone talks about him. We recognize the fact that Forbes magazine had them as the highest valued franchise in the National Football League, if not in all of American sports, at approximately $5 billion. We understand the billion-dollar playpen that is Jerry World, Jerry Jones, and the attention that he garners, the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders. Let's never forget that. We've got all of that going on in the backdrop of the star, the Dallas Cowboys playing on Thanksgiving, whatever. If you don't deserve any level of relevancy based on your level of production on the football field, and yet still you get it time and time and time again. If you're Russell Wilson, imagine how you, imagine how you would stand to benefit. If you were a member of the Dallas Cowboys, you would obviously be in the midst of a marketing machine. You would receive your just due in terms of attention, in terms of cachet, not to mention the nationally televised games. The list goes on and on. You got a beautiful wife in Sierra who's an entertainer extraordinaire, okay? I have no doubt in my mind that all of this noise about Russell Wilson wishing to depart from Seattle has a lot to do with her, as well it should. Happy wife, happy life. Listen to the ladies. Okay, let's make sure we do that. I see it all coming together. If I were Russell Wilson, the ideal place for him to play, because he has nothing to prove. We know he's great, and we know he's going to continue to be great. And as a result of that reality, the bottom line is if you were playing for a team like the Dallas Cowboys with all the unwarranted attention they garner, he would actually make them relevant. He would actually make them, valid in terms of their attention and the notoriety that they receive. And I think that in that regard, that's what makes it a winning situation for him. more so than anything else.
No,
That's
first
why
of
I
all-
mentioned the Dallas Cowboys.
First of all, you have a right to say he shouldn't stay in Dallas, but you do not have a right to say, you don't even have a right to say he should go to Dallas. Saying he shouldn't stay in Seattle, I get for the reasons you outlined. I disagree. I'll get to that in a second. But the Dallas Cowboys, Stephen A., I thought a black cat was running around that franchise. I thought they were cursed. You bring it up. Their record is 20 games worse than Russell Wilson's record, right? But look at the quarterbacks who've played for them. Tony Romo and Dak Prescott. Now, is Russell Wilson better than those guys? Has he been over that time? He has been. To the tune of 2-3 games a season? No. He doesn't give you 2 to 3 games a season better than those guys. What this indicates, Stephen A. Smith, is that he's in a winning situation. He contributes a lot to it for sure. But the Seattle Seahawks are basically a well-run, very well-run franchise, one of the best in football. Had it not been for the Patriots during the course of Russell Wilson's career, they'd be in the argument. They'd certainly be in the argument for the best run team in football. Certainly they are for the best run team in the NFC. So now you want them to go to the Cowboys? Perpetually dysfunctional team? Again, the difference in record, you can't just attribute to the quarterback. They've had good quarterbacks. How much of a premium he's going to give? Now, your point about maybe it's Sierra, maybe it's, a career opportunity, legacy in terms of branding after his career. Point well taken. But is that more important to Russell Wilson than becoming great? You know what I think Russell Wilson wants? I think he wants to be the greatest of all time. Russell Wilson is insanely competitive. And if he were in a situation where year in and year out, you're hoping to be above 500, maybe you can win a playoff game, he'll be miserable. He may feel that that's the case in Seattle right now. And maybe in the last couple of years, it has felt that way. Well, they'll get to the playoffs and they'll lose because the O-line isn't good enough, or the O-line gets a little better now, the defense isn't good enough. But this is a double-digit win team year in and year out, and that's not all because of Russell Wilson. It's because it's a well-run franchise. Careful what you wish for. You made more sense last week when you said New Orleans. If Russell Wilson's like, New Orleans, I think they're ready to win now. You put me on that team, it'll get them over the top. I can't really argue. I might say, hey, you got a good thing going in Seattle. You've won a Super Bowl there. You got to another. You may win another one there. You're still in your prime. But I can't really argue against the Saints. But the Cowboys and Stephen A., if he's upset about getting hit too much, that offensive line ain't the same anymore in Dallas. I don't get the Cowboys at all.
Came to Foles' defense after an up-and-down season in 2020, saying, quote, I respect the way he handled a lot of adversity this year, not just for himself in the quarterback room. He was a leader in the room as a starter or as a backup. And when he was playing, there were some things that, in fairness to him, the offensive line was a little unsettled and the run game wasn't quite where we wanted it to be. And so I'm just imagining you're getting up this morning and you're in Chicago and you're thinking we might get Deshaun Watson, we might get Russell Wilson, and our general manager is talking about our terrible quarterback situation of last year and keeping the worst one. So, Kimberly Martin, what is the latest out of Chicago as far as you know and the Bears' pursuit of their next quarterback?
Greeny, everything is on the table in Chicago. And I wouldn't read too much into a GM's comments because, as Mike Tannenbaum can tell you, my years of covering the Jets as a beat writer, GMs can say whatever they want to the media. They can say whatever they want, but they don't let us in all the time on what they're really thinking, right? No, I understand. Like you don't want to tell everybody what you're thinking. I get it. So praising a player, saying, "Oh, we love this guy." Next thing you know, said guy is out of town. So I think everything is on the table. But with Pace and Matt Nagy, they need to make a big move and have a big improvement at the QB position because they have, between Trubisky and Nick Foles, it has not been pretty, and they've wasted their defense. So hopefully for the Chicago fans, the Bears fans, they'll get their QB situation figured out. And I don't know if having Nick Foles at QB is the thing that's going to get everybody in Chicago supercharged up.
Mike Tannenbaum, the problem you have if you're the Bears is what you have to offer. Like you look at some of the teams that are in this trying to get quarterbacks. They have high draft picks. They have multiple draft picks. The Bears don't have that kind of stuff. If you're Ryan Pace and you are basically generally managing to save your job, how are you going to do it?
Well, I'm going to try to leverage everything I can for the future and tell the Seattle Seahawks, whoever you want on this team is available. because if we have Russell Wilson, we create an aura of association. Let's just go to Tampa Bay a year ago. Tom Brady goes there, LaShawn McCoy, Rob Gronkowski, Antonio Brown. If Russell Wilson goes to Chicago and you lose all those picks, you're going to recoup it in the veteran free agent market, and you change the trajectory of your franchise for the next 5 to 7 years. So I do agree with Kimberly. Ryan Pace has to come out and say, hey, you know what, Nick Foles is okay because he needs a quarterback in that seat right now, but he is scouring. He's not calling. He is scouring to try to save his job and exhaust every option he can.
How should this play out, Danny?
The Bears should not hang up the phone. I mean, you make the call and you stay on until someone says yes in Seattle. I mean,